Thank you, Madam Speaker. In 1958, former Prime Minister of Great Britain, Harold Macmillan, paraphrasing a remark from Winston Churchill 4 years earlier, left us with the great expression, "Jaw, jaw is better than war, war." It's because of our great power that our rivals seek to end the American way of life through direct or gray zone war, attacks by cyber or economic destruction, and we certainly, and we should and routinely jaw with those great powers about our possible shared objectives and deep concerns. However, in the instance of Tsar Putin, he has never been interested in jaw. He's a creature of his KGB upbringing. There was no jaw with the Chechens in 1999. There was no jaw with the Georgians, only tanks in 2008. There was no jaw, only propaganda, corruption, and death in Putin's approach to Ukraine during President Obama's administration. Under President Obama, Putin conducted his overt and covert actions in Ukraine with some 10,000 Ukrainians killed in the fighting, including 2,000 civilians. Yet Obama and his European allies simply looked down at their shoes. In 2014, Putin took Crimea without firing a shot. Putin is a disgrace to the rich cultural history of the Russian people and has thoroughly corrupted a false and bordering on insane historic narrative regarding his threats and ambitions in Ukraine. America, as the instrumental force inside the transatlantic nation, remains ready to stand shoulder to shoulder to back this European resolve. This is something that neither Obama nor Biden would do. They simply took the easy way out by agreeing to whatever the weakest European voice was at the time. This European attitude of, "Here, let me hold your coat," has plagued and frustrated all American presidents from Eisenhower to Trump. Jack Kennedy famously called out their unwillingness to pay for their own defense, stating how wrong it was to let the Europeans live off the fat of the land in American economic and military security. Madam Speaker, here's what needs to happen now. The United States and our European allies must agree that we will not support the immoral importation of Russian oil and gas. Europe has affordable, effective alternatives. The United States and our European allies should work through sanctions and other forms of economic statecraft to communicate firmly and consistently to large non-European buyers of Russian oil and gas. The time is to act now. Congress should act immediately by passing Congressman Zach Nunn's Bipartisan Peace Act. This proposal would finally kneecap Russia's energy revenues, which still total some $200 billion per year. This would impose secondary sanctions on the country, including on Gazprom and Rosneft. It passed out of my committee, the Financial Services Committee, by a vote of 53-1. It would be the first intensive sanctioning of the Russian banking industry since the invasion. Under Congressman Nunn's Peace Act, the U.S. would take Russian sovereign assets that have been immobilized and yet let the Ukrainians use them to purchase defensive weapons. Congress should also fully consider, debate, amend, and pass sanction legislation offered by Senator Lindsey Graham, which has 84 co-sponsors, and its companion bill in the House, sponsored by Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick. The President should, as a part of the newfound backbone of the G7, fully implement the REPO Act, which I worked on diligently with former Foreign Affairs Chairman Michael McCaul and Senate Foreign Relations Chair Jim Risch. This measure, signed into law in 2024, puts direct and immediate heat on Russian sovereign assets held outside the country. Here again, we need the Europeans to step forward. In 2024, in the spring, the Council of Europe actually fully supported this idea with a 100% vote. Congress should also authorize funding for the U.S. Geological Survey to fully review all Soviet-era geological surveys of Ukraine, both in the contested Donbass region as well as in free Ukraine, and provide Congress and the administration with an up-to-date assessment of the strategic minerals available for Ukraine's further economic development. The time for action is now. Apparently, Putin needs more unified pressure to convince him that, in fact, jaw is better than war. Let's not look back with regret that Congress did not act in the face of Putin's corrupt, catastrophic, and contemptuous regime that laughs in the face of his European neighbors and our American president. I yield back.